Hi, I'm Rabbi Mordechai Liebling, and I am here to tell you that this is a case where religion and science both agree.
Yes.
Religion tells us that we have a moral obligation to protect the earth.
Yes.
Science tells us that we're destroying the earth by fracking. So you have an obligation of your intellect to follow science and a moral obligation to protect the earth. Wow. You need to do both. So I'd like to ask you at this moment if you would just think for a moment of somebody that you really deeply love. Is there a child, a grandchild, a parent, somebody that you really deeply love? And allow that feeling of love to go into your heart right now. What is it like to really love somebody? And picture that person. And now picture that person drinking polluted water for years. And what's going to happen to that person that you love, or that grandchild or great-grandchild or niece or nephew who hasn't been born yet? And what are you condemning them to? Put the dots together. We started today with a presentation about what the extraction industry did in Pennsylvania 100 years ago, 50 years ago, and we're picking up the pieces now. Then we heard a report about flooding. And why do we have extreme weather? Because of climate change. And why do we have climate change? Because of fossil fuels. And what do we know about methane gas, which is released in great quantity from the fracking process? That methane gas is 20 times as bad for the climate as CO2 is. So you are creating even more of a problem by allowing fracking. Then the very first person who testified this morning talked about nuclear power, right? And then we heard somebody talk about earthquakes. It is now fairly clear that fracking causes low-level earthquakes. So here we have more nuclear power and more earthquakes. And what just happened in Japan? You know? What about these football field holding tanks? What's going to happen to them when an earthquake hits? Do you know? What's going to happen to those holding tanks when there's extreme flooding? Do you know?
Yeah, they go in the field.
You really need to allow the time for these impact studies to happen. Allow the time for science to tell you what the impact of fracking is. There is no rush. We do not need this gas tomorrow. There is no rush in allowing these permits. You can say no to them. You have to decide, I'd like to say one more thing. You have to decide if you're going to be good Germans or you're going to stand up for what is right.
Wow.
Hello, my name is Susan Sachs. I think I was on the list, but it's okay. I'm speaking as a citizen activist and as a mother. I have met, interviewed, and hosted in my home direct victims of the fracking industry. And I'm here to oppose the release of a single drop of water to reckless, irresponsible, and unaccountable industry that has left environmental devastation and human suffering in its wake everywhere it has been permitted to operate. I have recently begun attending meetings of commissions such as this one, and I'm impressed with the role that you play in mitigating the effects of both natural and industrial disasters. But we are now facing an unprecedented assault by the extreme energy extracting industry as they double down on behavior that has already caused everything from cancer to earthquakes, and they expect us to shut up and ignore the mounting evidence of its crimes.
No way.
To close our eyes to farmers like my friend, I don't know if you saw the picture of Farmer Terry Greenwood, who stayed at my house and showed me the pictures of his calves that were born with white eyes, like ghastly white eyes, dead. And he had no cows give birth this year. And of people who have to watch their teenage daughter's skin peel off when she takes a shower in contaminated water. I'm the mother of 3 teens. I can't imagine what that has to feel like.
It's horrible. It's awful.
I talk to people who are told by their doctors to get used to the idea of them and their children having shorter lives. That's just the way it's going to be. There's nothing they can do. They don't even know what's causing some of the illnesses that they're suffering, because it's the effect of complex interacting multiple chemicals poisoning their environment all the time. I've talked to people whose homes that they put their life savings into are unsellable. They can't live there and they can't sell them. They can't, but why pay their mortgages? Who would buy this? Who would buy a home that was that contaminated? This is not data, these are people. Corporations are not people. The purpose of a corporation is only to amass wealth for its owners. Yes. And that wealth flows into the campaign coffers of politicians, your bosses. I'm sorry, but they're bought. They are bought. They are owned. You don't have to be. We have elections in this country that have morphed into little more than auctions. We all know that. Corporations are not people. They don't live and die. People do. Corporations don't bear and raise children. People do. Corporations don't form bonds of love and caring. People do. Corporations don't have souls or a conscience. People do. You are people. You have souls. You have a conscience. Don't hide behind the excuse that you only monitor one tentacle of the beast, the tentacle that sucks the water out of the system, not the tentacle that pumps poison into the water and slams it into the ground and then spews it in our environment.
Thank you, that's fine.
Do the right thing. Be people with conscience.
I'd like to apologize. I drove in a car here today. And it was full of people. We packed them in there, but we burned gasoline to get here. And I'm sorry that had to happen, but we had to speak. And we had to say we oppose this vehemently, and it's insane that you don't. There comes a time when voices are not enough, when we've spoken and we've written and we've said that you should hear us, and we're not being heard. So I would say that we are not powerless, and that we don't need to assess how bad drilling is before we just say no to it. We don't need to waste that kind of time. That we are being attacked as a people, and that they are killing us systematically, and that it's time to stand up. And that we have nothing else to lose. If we are 70% water and they're poisoning the water, then what else can we lose? So I think that it's time to put our bodies on the line. That's right. Because water is not a commodity. It is sacred, and we cannot live without it. We can't live without each other. We can't live without the pieces of the puzzle. But what we don't need are puppets on strings. Oh my God. Water doesn't burn, hopefully, but what it does do is it moves to areas of lowest concentration, and it carries with it anything that's in it. So it carries poison if there's poison in it, but it carries health and life if there's health and life in it. So just like that part of our bodies, we have to mobilize, we have to move. We are the leaders, not them, obviously. And if we should use holding tanks for anything, it should be for criminals, not for poisoned water. And I say that we stand up, and we're not canaries. We're not like warning that the death is upon us. We're wolves. And we are powerful, and we can do this together.
Good morning. Welcome to the Wyoming Valley. My name is Don Williams. I find it interesting that I registered to speak via email with Richard Cairo. Multiple emails were swapped back and forth. I signed in directly behind, I believe, Jay Sweeney. Excuse me, I'm not done. I have my 3 minutes, I'm going to use them.
Hold the microphone down, Don.
Okay, thanks. And that somehow my name got lost twice. That speaks to the inefficiency of your organization. I work for a large international law firm. I'm responsible for people from Beijing to Moscow, to London, to Paris, and across this country. When I have a meeting, it starts on time. When I have an agenda, I don't change it 3 times before the meeting begins. And you can show me anything you want, I don't recognize it. I'm okay, gentlemen. I did a lot of research. I went through every one of your minutes, interesting reads from the last 4 quarterly meetings. I documented all of the cold water fisheries, the high quality fisheries, the exceptional value waters that you are approving. I don't recognize the clock, by the way. That you are approving to the tune of billions of gallons a year. Billions. When you degrade a part of the whole, you degrade the whole, regardless of what percentage you and the industry wants to throw out. You degrade the whole. I'm happy that you tabled the discussion with regard to the quality of waters. I hope it's what I think it is, that you're going to look for other sources of waters instead of our Class A naturally trout reproducing streams, which you also approve. In conclusion, I would like to read in its entirety, please, a letter that I've been asked to read by American Rivers. Verbatim. American Rivers comments to the Susquehanna River Basin Commission. Is that better? Thanks. Read on behalf of American Rivers by Don Williams. Thursday, December 15th, 2001. On May 17th, American Rivers declared the Susquehanna River the #1 most endangered river in the country. Since then, our concern for the health of the Susquehanna and its tributaries has increased with a revelation that the Susquehanna River Basin Commission, SRBC, is considering 26 new water withdrawal proposals prior to evaluating the cumulative impacts these withdrawals and other aspects of natural gas development will have on the watershed. Of greatest concern is the continued approval of consumptive use withdrawals for outstanding national resource waters designated as exceptional value and high quality. These waters have received such designations to ensure that their clean water is protected from degradation, and a reduction in flows can often cause a diminution of water quality. Many of these rivers and streams are home to abundant population of cold water fish species. Withdrawing large amounts of water from these streams is bound to diminish the overall quality of the entire watershed. I'm going to skip down a little bit. The SRBC should follow the lead of the DRBC in developing water quality regulations to protect the waters of the basin. You have a responsibility to ensure that your actions will not degrade the quantity or quality of waters of the Susquehanna and its tributaries. Developing a timely analysis of the cumulative impact that water withdrawal permits or the regulations under development will have on the waters of the basin will ensure you are meeting your obligations to the public trust. We, that's American Rivers, not me, would be willing to work with you to address this issue. Absent this analysis, it is premature for the SRBC to consider these 26 water withdrawal permits. The public health and clean water in the Susquehanna River Basin depends on your leadership in this matter. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. Jesse Thomas Blake, Associate Director of River Protection, American Rivers. Thank you.
I'm from Pike County, Pennsylvania. It's not within the watershed.
Can you say your name, please?
My name is Alex Lotorto. You want to know that because I'm very upset. I feel that this industry displaces inherently the aesthetic value of our rural areas and rural character.
Yes.
Our tourism, our recreation, and our real estate and our agriculture are all being displaced by 10 to 15 acre heavy industrial toxic waste sites. Okay? And I want to bring up something. I was working on my chimney last week. I was home for hunting season, which I'll talk about in a minute. I was thinking about, why am I improving my house? Because down, maybe 10 years down the road, maybe just when I start a family, I'm 25 years old, I'm going to probably move my family into this house. What is it going to be worth to my kids? My parents have 2 mortgages out on the house. My dad's a landscaper. I'm a grounds technician. We bust our butts working all the time. My mom has a Poconos themed gift shop on the Delaware River in Milford. And people landscape their homes to make it worth something, right? This is the business you don't even think about, right? But what will happen to our landscapers? Who will landscape their home when they're living next to a 10 to 15 acre heavy industrial site that their neighbor leased? You know, when they have to drive around their neighborhood in like White Sox and near Towanda, nonstop traffic on Route 6, which goes through my town too, in Milford. So I have a copy of all the tourism brochures, and I'm submitting this as my public comment, the economic impacts. And Lake Wallenpaupack is in Pike County. It says, sit back and relax one of our 28-foot or 32-foot patio boats. Enjoy a breathtaking hour-long cruise on picturesque Lake Wallenpaupack as your tour guide describes the area and the history behind this charming lake region. I have the Pike County lease map for gas drilling. You'll see right next to Lake Wallenpaupack, there's a lease. I don't know what company it was, but I know Chesapeake is active in leasing, and you're about to permit them water withdrawals. And the closest water withdrawal sites for Chesapeake will be your River Basin Commission approval. Okay? So you're dooming what we live off of. We have survived. People say that the job economy is bad. It's always been bad in rural Pennsylvania. Since the coal industry left, we have abandoned coal towns. We have logging industry towns that were abandoned 150 years ago. And we're surviving, all right? And that's what we choose to do when we live out there. And I'd be happy to work on a farm. And I have friends taking jobs on these rigs. They have carpal tunnel at age 25. They have lacerations from high-pressure drilling mud that hit them on Patterson UTI, which is the most dangerous drilling rig company. And the last time young men my age in Pennsylvania worked on hazardous sites for fossil fuels was in the coal mines, and they organized an underground group called the Molly Maguires. All right? And I am 25. And what they had to do to the Molly Maguires to get them to stop fighting the coal barons and J.P. Morgan, they had to hang them. And I want you to know, if you think you're going to drill, you're going to have to hang me.
Wow.
Okay?
So my name is Luke Burns, Lukebyrnes. I came here from Philadelphia today, and I think this has been said a lot today, but I feel kind of nervous going after that awesome speech. So I'm an environmental educator working in Philadelphia, and I work with a lot of underserved youth in urban areas. And we work in and around creeks, restoring the riparian buffers, planting trees and stuff like that. And it occurred to me after doing this for about 3 years that all of these kids didn't even know that they could go swimming in their creeks. Because, well, they can, but they didn't know that people used to. And they also didn't know that people used to eat the fish out of the creek. And they didn't know that people didn't used to have to work, because all they had to do was go down to the creek and catch their dinner. That's gone. And the thing is, the legacy continues. Every kid after that, that's what they're going to know. They're never going to know that. All they're going to know is Cheetos and Funyuns and all that crap. And this is what is at stake. This is what you're going to sacrifice. So what's going on here is really a democracy issue, because every single person that stepped up here vehemently told you to not pass this. And I guess you're going to discuss, and then you're going to come out, and you're going to vote. I really hope that you don't approve these 26 permits. But communities are already realizing that it's a democracy issue. So a group called the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund has gone into a lot of communities and helped them pass bans on fracking, because they said we don't need 3 representatives representing millions of people. We can do this ourselves. But wait, it's great. Right. It happened in Pittsburgh. But what happened? What happened? Have you guys heard of something called HR 1100? Have you heard of something called SB 1950 that denies municipalities the opportunity to ban fracking? Is that democracy? No! Is that America? No! No. We need to stand up, but obviously we definitely already have stood up. I'm a little taken aback at how amazing some of the things we've been saying. It sounds like a revolution is afoot. But there's some people standing in the way. There's 2 police officers that came in. You know why they're here? Because they're going to vote. They are going to vote. We are not going to vote. Remember that. They are going to vote, right? And then they, because they have to, are going to protect them from us. They're going to protect them and the corporations that they represent from us. That's a little bit backwards. The corporations aren't even real. They're just numbers and dividends and shareholders that don't live here. If they lived here, they would be up here speaking. Right? They're just accumulations of property. That's what it's come down to. That's what you're protecting, okay? So what I'm asking you is to think of your grandchildren. This is your chance. You can stand up and join us. Step into your humanity. Be a human. Oh, wouldn't that feel so good? This is your family right here. We're all waiting for you. Step up. You too. Thank you.
My name is Rima Sinistvat. You've got 2 Rimas today. That's amazing. I'm from Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. And I'm over 60. I'm not retired yet. I have to work. But I am now spending a great deal of my time and my own money to be out on the road going to these activist things. And I don't just come to gas fracking. I go to West Virginia against coal mining, mountaintop removal coal mining. I go and protest in Washington against the XL pipeline. Wherever there are people hurting from the extractive fossil fuel industries, I've taken this on as my job and my life. And I'm spending my own money and taking time from my work to do this. And at every single one of these things that I go to, it's always this kind of setup. It's us against them. And I can see that I'm wired here to keep me over here. But I'm putting this down so I can walk over here and talk to you like a human being. Please, please do the right thing. Please do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. Let your hearts and your souls speak to you. Join us. Please. I'm a grandmother. I'm not doing this for myself. I'll be dead in 20 years. But my little kids won't be. Please. Do the right thing. You know that own thing that we just did? I felt the energy from our side of the room, but I didn't feel it from you. Please.
Guess everybody can hear me. David Buck is my name, and I signed in late today. So I woke up late, 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard gas water trucks running by my house. 2 o'clock in the morning, boom, 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 going by. Number one, where was the water coming from? Susquehanna River. Trucks that were going the other way, it's probably brine water, or they call residual wastewater. All morning, while I was typing up my speech, trucks were flying by my place in Sugar Run. I have a written testimony. I'm going to go over it a little bit more, but sometimes my personal talkings are a little bit better. I'm assuming this is a picture of the Marie Antoinette overlooking here. The picture that's on the 40th. If you would go there now and back up a little bit, you're going to see well sites all over the place around the Marie Antoinette overlook. You're going to see pipelines all over the place. If you want to get a better view, go to Google Earth. They updated the maps of that area October 6th of this year. I was looking at them last night and I was appalled. It's scary to see the well pads and how close they are to the river. And the stories I hear from the young men that work with me in my business about how things have changed in their environment. I'm not going to tell about the American rivers, how they designated the Susquehanna the most endangered this year and years ago. Don, I do have my no damn t-shirt on underneath here, but I won't expose it at the moment because that's not the story. I live on the Susquehanna River in Sugar Run at River Mile 249. Now, most people don't know what that means, but it's 249 miles from the Chesapeake Bay. That is where methane gas is bubbling in the river. Sugar Run is where many of my neighbors' wells are polluted from methane. Excuse me, I just have to grab my thoughts. Due to poor drilling procedures from Chesapeake Energy. Just yesterday, and I got this, kind of come home last night, is a letter from Chesapeake that they would like to put on one of my wells. They want to install a Century 1 open air system, Connecticut 4060 OD water filtration unit on my well to get rid of the methane. I just got this yesterday. I just was reading through it. What does that mean? I don't know. Sign here. That's what we're dealing with up in Bradford County. Chesapeake Appalachia has applied for permission to extract up to 2 million gallons of water from a point in the Susquehanna where I have my business, which is Endless Mountain Outfitters. I don't know if I introduced myself or not. David Buck, did I say that earlier? I am Endless Mountain Outfitters. Okay. The project is the Elm Glade in Wilmot Township, Bradford County. Wilmot Township is one of these wonderful townships that does not believe in zoning, planning, or anything. Do what you want to do. So anything can go there, okay? If this is approved, a cofferdam will be built out into the river next to my access where I put many people on. It's 25 feet long, approximately 12 feet wide, 13 feet high, concrete vault which will be put below the bed of the river. It'll have a mesh screen on to suck the water in. It flows into another vault nearby in a floodway. I didn't say floodplain, I said floodway. That's going to be put 30 feet down into the ground. The water is captured there. And then from there, it is pumped. The pipeline is going to go through a known Native American site. That doesn't really matter because they don't have to check those things. To a pumping station and then to be put into ponds up in the hillsides.
Thank you, sir. That's time.
He can have one of my minutes because I'm speaking next. He can have 2 of my minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll speak quick because I want you to.
Go ahead.
Chesapeake told a group of Sugar Run residents, I'll speak faster, that if approved, the work could start this summer, next summer. I was shut down. We were flooded seriously in our business in Sugar Run. We've been closed. They're going to shut me down again next year. The area where they want to put this is where I do my demo boats, is where first-time paddlers come and experience paddling on the river.
That sucks.
Other concerns are the riparian trees that are going to be cut down to bring phase 3 power to this pumping plant. I watched those trees hold the banks on the flood. You know, I have a different respect for the river now than I did September 1st. SRBC attended a meeting in Sugar Run that Chesapeake held, and I'm also understand this is another whole other subject, but they are responsible for the flood warning systems. 10 o'clock at night, the flood thing came out that we may have 27 feet of water. The next day, that was off 7 feet. It was 7 feet higher than they predicted. 7 feet of water is what I had in my store. So there's other things that we need to be concerned about. Now, my thought is, do things right or don't do them at all. I'm totally concerned about what's going on in our area, and my comment is to say no when your heart feels that you should. And thank you for the extra time.
Good morning. It's almost afternoon. I know you probably want to take your break, don't you? Let me ask you a question. How many here are the commission? Raise your hand, please. Or are you afraid to? Who's on the commission? Come on.
We're all on the commission.
Raise your hand. I want to see your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys are lackeys, right? You got it. All right, I want to tell you one thing. I'm only here as a citizen of Wilkes-Barre, Kingston. My name is David Zurich. I'm from Squirrelsville, Pennsylvania. I can't get a gas drill on my property because I don't own any property. I rent. My brother owns property. He may be able to put it in a ponding area behind my house, but I'm not sure. I fished and hunted this area for 40 years. I've lived here for 52. I'd like to know if there's any well pads by your house. If there's any contaminated water by your house. I want to know if your family, when things go wrong, are going to be able to just get up and leave from your area. What about the people here in Pennsylvania who live by the river? You people really don't understand it, do you? Is the money that much? What do you think? 2012 is the end of the world and you're going to get everything you can now before you go? What's wrong with you people? Don't you understand that there are lives at stake here? Stop this atrocity! Are you nuts?
Thank you, sir. That's a minute.
Why? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I used my other two. Just remember, people, you may own and do everything you want, and you may be, Sarah, all worked up, but don't get overworked up. Because it doesn't do anything for these people. They don't care.